Folks, there is a hidden history that has been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, and that's why we are on the trail of the Nephilim. Today, I'll be talking about a conversation that I had with two Navajo elders. I'll be getting into that. I think you'll find it fascinating. Why? Because they all know about the giants. And in that interview, we talked about the giants that once roamed on what is now the Navajo reservation. We'll get into that and so much more after a word from our sponsor. Folks, as we wrap up 2025, it's a good time to slow down and reflect on the year. If there's one thing we've all learned, it's that uncertainty isn't temporary. It's the world we live in now. Waiting for things to go back to normal isn't a plan, it's a gamble. For over a decade, my friends at Noble Gold Investments have helped Americans protect themselves and the people they love by diversifying their wealth with gold and silver. Look, nobody knows what 2026 will bring, but one thing is for sure. In an uncertain world, real wealth isn't digital. It's physical, it's lasting, and it's yours. So when you're sitting around the table this holiday season, surrounded by family, remember, the best gift you can give isn't under the tree. It's peace of mind. And that's what Noble Gold delivers. Peace of mind, 1 ounce at a time. Before the year ends, take one smart step toward a safer future. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Get your free wealth protection kit today. Once again, noblegoldinvestments.com. As we wrap up 2025, we know that uncertainty isn't temporary. It's the world we live in now. Waiting for things to go back to normal isn't a plan. It is a gamble. Folks, noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. Folks, thanks so much for watching here on YouTube. We had 2.8 million views last year, or I should say 2021. It's still 2021. I want to thank you all for coming here. If you want politics, prophecy, and the supernatural report uncensored, you've got to go to Rumble, BitChute, or Roku. Those links are in the chat box down below, the text box down below. Just real quick before I move on, the most viewed was UFO Disclosure, The Coming Great Deception, and the Luciferian Endgame. We are in part 2. That's going to be released hopefully by the end of the month of January. We'll see what happens. We're on it. We're starting to edit it. And it will be my sit-down interview with Francisco Carrera, who was our producer and guide over in Europe, Portugal, Spain, France, the UK, really close friend, good friend. But Francisco is also head of Exopolitics Portugal. And the two of us sat down and had this meeting of the minds, as it were. And it's a great interview. And I think you'll find that fascinating. Combined with that is my sit down with Preston Dennett. Preston is an author, researcher, been doing this as long as I have, lives in Los Angeles. And so we combine the two together. I think you'll find it really a fascinating romp. I'm working on the third one, which we're going to charge for because we need to. We need to make some sort of remuneration for our efforts. And that will be sitting down with people like Gary Stearman, Mondo Gonzalez, and others, Nick Pope, Nick Redford, George Norrie. A lot of these interviews are already on film, and I'm in the process of editing that. I think you'll find that fascinating. But I want to move into something today. I'm going to be reading from chapter 3. So here's the backstory. I'm at a conference, really not a conference. I was flown in by Pastor Curtis, who I consider a good friend, by the way. And Curtis grew up on the Navajo reservation. His father was also a pastor on the Navajo reservation. So I was under his covering. I was not prayed up. I did not know that there were forces working against me. There were forces working against me. The medicine men, many of them who still practice their dark arts, by the way, this has been unbroken for thousands of years. Thousands of years. In fact, I sat down with Jimmy Etzetti, who became a pastor, and he gave me this incredible view of what many white folk never get to hear, what happened to him, how he's being trained to become a medicine man. And in order to get the power, what he had to do is he had to kill a family member. And he couldn't do that. And so he fled the reservation, did some alcohol abuse, and finally came to the Lord, became a pastor. Wonderful man, wonderful man. And I think the film got burnt in the fire. I think that never made it out. I don't know. I've never been able to find it. But we did an interview with him, and it was a fascinating interview. But anyway, so I'm there, and I'm talking to probably about 30 people in the room. in this little church in Farmington. And I realized that this wasn't about, Peggy and I making bank for the weekend. That wasn't going to happen. This was about ministering to these people, giving away stuff, and learning, and just sitting and learning. And as I taught, I sat down with these two Navajo elders, and I was in school, and I found it very interesting. And I'll read some of the transcript so you can get an idea of what we were up against. So before I left there, the Navajo Indian Reservation, I was struck down, and this has happened also in France at Karnak. Exactly the same thing. The enemy knows our weakness. Okay, he knows what our weaknesses are physically, and he can go in there and mess with stuff, which is what he did to me, both at Farmington and also when we were over in Karnak, France, filming over there. Which, by the way, that site is totally mind blowing. We've never done anything with the footage. COVID, the rebuild of the house has put everything back, but now we're back on the trail, and we are in full blown edit mode. So hang on to your hats, folks. So the bottom line is, when I was talking to these people, I was already coming down with the malady. I wasn't like 100%, but I began to ask questions, and we'll go over this right now. So, and getting back to the oral tradition, I remember hearing stories from my grandmother who came from Italy. This is me asking her. Her parents and grandparents told her stories that they had heard, that some of these stories could go back hundreds of years. Tell us your story. What is it your grandmother or your mother who told you? Was it your grandmother or your mother who told you the stories? And the Navajo elder. I was about 5 or 6 years old, and during the summer, the grandmother would be talking about her childhood and her teenage years. During the winter, she told us other stories, but this one was about twin brothers who went looking for their father. They found out their father was the sun. They had a hard time getting to it. There were too many obstacles to get to it. In those days, they were terrorized by giants, big people, and they were eating people. L.A. So the giants were cannibals. Navajo elder, they were cannibals. She didn't mention anything about 6 fingers or 6 toes. L.A. Nothing like that. When you say giants, did your family tell you how big these people might have been? Navajo elder, no. She said the Navajo word for giants is Yaitza. That's all she said, which means giants. My question. The elder, giants, yeah. What does Yaitza mean? People that terrorize people. Pretty amazing. Did she ever say what happened to them? Why they disappeared? The elder, they kill a lot of monsters. The twins went on a mission to find their father. They wanted to, so they encountered these other monsters, something like a spider to help them. L.A. Spider women? Elder, with weapons and things like that, they killed the other monsters. They had Navajo names. When I went to school, there were names, and it didn't go into depth about the names, how the twin brothers killed all the monsters. It did mention that there were giants in the land and people were hiding. So I'm just going to leave it right there. Hopefully that whets your appetite. So much information from this sit down with this woman and her husband. Both of them were Navajo elders. Both of them were Christians, which of course was really interesting to me. But you know what, folks? There is a hidden history. And before I move on to the UFO report, and I think you'll find this interesting too, what amazes me is that the old school of anthropology discounted all of the oral tradition. They wouldn't even listen to it. Oh, it's all superstition. Oh, it's this, it's that, it's the other thing. But I get that. But in some of those tales, there is truth there. The giants did roam the land. They were all over the Americas, from America's Stonehenge to Catalina Island. Have they ever found large skeletons? They did. Up in that area, up around New England, New Hampshire, they found larger skeletons. But we discovered that 9-footer on Catalina. And that's also in our On the Trail of a Nephilim series. There it is, 1 through 7. You can avail yourself of what I think is incredible information. Binge watch them. Heck, the weekend's coming up. Check it out. Go to streaming.lamarzulli.net. Streaming.lamarzulli.net. Moving right along to our UFO update. This came, the clip I'm going to show you came from a, basically like a security camera. And I'll weigh in on that, but I'm going to circle back to something that we talked about yesterday. NASA enlists priests to assess how the world would react to alien life. You got to understand, by the way, my inbox lit up yesterday with people sending me the link, LA at Marzulli.net. If you've got UFO footage, an encounter, if you've been taken, if you've been abducted, shoot me an email, LA at Marzulli.net. So NASA, I mean, this becomes, well, this is the way it works. Do you think NASA broadcasts what they're going to do? Of course not. So it's, first of all, it's a deliberate leak to the media. Hey, by the way, we're enlisting priests to see how the world might react to alien life out there, to a gray, to when they actually show up. Now, how does that work? Who picks up the phone and calls a media outlet and goes, yeah, we got a little story here where we've enlisted a bunch of theologians and priests to assess how the world might react to alien life. I want you to run with that next Tuesday, okay, Al? And Al, of course, obliges, and there it is. It's by Alicia Powell. So need I say more, right? That's how the game is played. NASA taps theologians to assess how humans will react if life is found on other planets. So they're rolling this out as a managed agenda. It's totally deliberate. Totally deliberate. They already know exactly what's going to happen. And you want to know what's going to happen, in my opinion? It's one big nothing burger. Why? Because no one cares. We've been so inundated with Star Trek and Star Wars and the plethora of UFO movies and films and, you know, extraterrestrial lights and ET and all this stuff. Everybody's been conditioned. I remember when I saw the movie ET, I was a brand new Christian, all right? Pretty sure I was a brand new Christian, right around 1980. So when I came to faith, came of the Lord. And I'm sitting in the theater. I was with my friend, Mark at the time. And the part where, you know, E.T. goes home and there's a separation, the whole theater, I look around, everybody's crying. The whole theater is sobbing. And I'm sitting there going like, these people have drunk the Kool-Aid. What, I'm not getting the same reaction here at all. This is, in my opinion, although I really couldn't articulate it, but this looked like conditioning to me. Have you ever gotten to a theater? Sure you have. And you know what you see? Next time you're in a movie theater, we don't go anymore because it's all, for the most part, it is what it is, okay? I won't blast Hollywood, but give me a break, right? Who needs it? So anyway, although I heard Spider-Man, the new movie, is really good, but I digress. So John Adams giving me the look there. So here's the deal. When you go to a theater, this is what everybody does. I mean, you want to talk about hypnosis? I mean, are you serious? Right? Everybody's in this semi-catatonic state staring at the screen. And you're being inundated with state-of-the-art sound. So it's not like it was 60 years ago where there's a couple of speakers up there. The sound shakes the whole room, for crying out loud. So that's what you're looking at. And NASA is deliberately rolling this out. Why? In my opinion, we are looking at the coming great deception and the Luciferian endgame. And isn't it interesting? My phone didn't ring. I wasn't tapped for one of the theologians. You know, by the way, I am Dr. Marzulli. I don't say that or use it that much, but I was presented an honorary doctorate from my mentor, Dr. I.D.E. Thomas, and I do use it on occasion. So I am Dr. L.A. Marzulli. Thank you. Yes, thank you. James? Anyway, so, you know, and it's a doctor of divinity. So there you go. I've been banging this drum, folks, for decades. This is the coming great deception, the Luciferian endgame. So I'll get right into this. This is from a security camera. You tell me what I'm looking at. I don't know. Could it be a bunch of helicopters in the air? Could be. Could it be doing drills, military installation? Could be. I don't know. There's just not enough information, even if you blow it up. There's certainly lights. They appear and may disappear. But the bottom line is that security camera is going blink, blink. So what is it, a 5-second, a 10-second delay between pictures? So without any further ado, let's get into that. So there's the security camera. And right here is where you get the first light. And I'll stop it there. So you can see that you see the one light, and then there's a whole bunch of lights. Let's go. And then they're gone. Oh. It's almost like it repeats, doesn't it? Look at it again. So I'm going to stop it here. It goes by really quick. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at. I find it odd that it happens twice, different clusters. They appear, they disappear. Close encounters of the first kind. If you've got an opinion on that, please write me, la@lamarzulli.net, la@lamarzulli.net. This is complex. I don't know. I lean towards CE1, close encounters of the first kind. So anyway, folks, check it out. Our free film, UFO Disclosure, The Coming Great Deception of Luciferian Endgame. What are you waiting for? It's free. Part 2 will be free. Part 3 will not be free, okay? So watch the first 2. Watch the first 2 for free once we get the second one up. But we've got, I think it's like between our YouTube channel and the YouTube channel for Prophecy Watchers, we're up around 200,000 views. It's really cool. This was the most viewed video on our YouTube channel. Please, let's make this thing go viral. Pass it forward. Pass it on. People need to see it. There's so much information in that film. So my exhortation to you is watch it and then pass it forward. Folks, thanks so much for watching On the Trail of a Nephilim and, of course, our daily UFO update. Once again, if you've got a footage, if you've got snapshots, if you've got video, if you've got a story, please shoot me an email at la@lamarzulli.net. If you have a mound on your property and you live in Ohio, I'm your new best friend, because we can come there and we can excavate that. We're allowed to excavate without a permit if it's on private property in Ohio. I've got a team of archaeologists, anthropologists. Chief Joseph Riverwind is our representative for First Nation people, optometrists, medical doctors, all sorts of people. We're ready to come, and we've got a war chest, but we need the mound. Let us know, la@lamarzulli.net. So yesterday, just to review real quick, remember, I'm down in Navajo country. It's my first real journey into a First Nation people's reservation. It was an incredible foyer. I was prayed up, at least I thought I was, and I got hit. There were powers that were there that did not want me there, and I got hit supernaturally, spiritual warfare. And I got a fever, and I was sick. Not coincidence that happened. But I sat down with the Navajo elders. They invited me to their home. Again, a great honor. They would not come on camera, but their voices, they allowed themselves to be recorded. So this is the transcript. And as I was talking about yesterday, and this is what they said here. No, the monsters were giants. No, but the stories did mention that there were giants in the land. So monsters are different from the giants. And this is what she says: terrorizing people, eating people, and people were always hiding from them. And from there, yesterday, I talked about the book of Enoch, which discusses the fact that the Nephilim were eating the flesh and drinking the blood of human beings. This is the reason for the flood. So let's move on. Did the Navajo fight the giants, I ask the elders? No, they hid from them. They didn't fight them. They hid from them in places where the giants didn't catch them. That's all she told me. So the she there is her grandmother, all right? I'm sure my grandmother told me more, but I was too young to remember. These stories came from her parents and her grandmother. So now we're back 150, 200 years. It's amazing. And back it goes. Oral tradition. Did she ever say where these giants might have been buried? No, she didn't go into details like that, but she did mention that there were giants roaming the land. Here, yeah. So I didn't pay too much attention. L.A., you were a little girl. The elder, yeah. All I know that later on in life, as I was growing up, there's a lot of teaching I used to go to before I got saved. Before I became his child, I used to go to peyote meetings. I also took peyote, and then I also took peyote before I was a Christian. So First Nation people, specifically the Navajo, use this as a springboard into what I would call the second heaven. Vision quests happen there, but all this information, just like the information I got, is from the second heaven. It cannot be trusted. I can't stress that enough. It cannot be trusted. So you can take ayahuasca and pop up and see the grays and have like a semi-religious experience or a profound revelation. But where is that information coming from, and can we trust it? The answer specifically there is absolutely no. So she continues, as a teenager, I was introduced to peyote meetings. My stepfather My stepfather and my mom used to take us to church. As a child, I went to vacation Bible school. But then my parents started to go to peyote meetings. This is the old traditions of the Navajo tribe, okay, which was foreign to me because I had never heard of it or anything like that. I did hear my classmates talking about it. I had no knowledge of peyote meetings. When I turned 14 old, that's when I heard of that. In my late 20s, I started going and I started participating in the peyotes. I would sit there 2 nights in a row. There were a lot of things going on there that I didn't agree with. They kind of scared me. And then this missionary led me to the Lord. I say, wow, okay. She continues, in the teaching there at the peyote meetings, there was a lot of teaching, how to raise your children, not to yell at them, and treating your children right. Talk to them in the right way, not to be abusive in your language and things like that. If you mistreat your children, they will become yaitza. And then, of course, that's the Navajo word for giants. And I say, giants. Yes, that was their teaching. I always remembered that. A lot of these children are being mistreated, and later on, they turn against their parents. They were using it as a metaphor, that children would turn into giants. How far back does this go? How long ago were the twins here? At this point, the Navajo elder's husband, who was sitting nearby through the whole interview, chimed in. I refer to him as the Navajo elder number 2. So he says, no one knows. And he continues, I tried to think about it. My grandmother, I heard some things about it, and she was born in the 1800s, and she was told by her mother, who was born in the 1700s, what they know is that it goes back farther. At Fort Summer, 1864 to 1868, most of it was passed on from them. So in brackets, from 1863 to 1864, Fort Sumner was a military fort in southeastern New Mexico, charged with the internment of Navajo and Mescalero Apache populations. So this is when the stories begin to break down. But the Navajo and many of the tribes held on to the oral traditions like you wouldn't believe. And that's why there's this unbroken chain. Navajo Elder 2, well, they are lying in the cave there. So he chimes in. I remember I'm asking, let me continue. I ask him a question. People would sit around the fire in the winter and listen to the stories. Has anyone ever talked about a place where the bones of the giants are? Navajo elder, the man, chimes in. Well, they are lying in the cave there. Would your brother, the medicine man, know about it? Yes, he might have to know to be a medicine man. Anything else? If you turn the elders around here, they won't share information. A lot of these medicine men, they know a lot, but they won't share information. This is just the surface of information I heard from my grandmother. That's about it. That's all, just a sketch. I was just a kid. She talked about a lot of things, even now, and then I remember. L.A. Just so you know, there were other tribes with the same stories of giant race of men who were cannibals. We hear the same stories in Ohio, in the Midwest, and even in California. They were everywhere. There's something to it. You're not the only people who have a story of cannibalistic giants. Other tribes tell the same stories, slightly different, but in many ways the same. And there you have it, folks. The bottom line is there's so much information. This is why I'm on the trail. I'm sitting in a Navajo elder's house, and they're telling me stuff that, is closely guarded. Did he spill the beans completely? No, he didn't. But what he does say, well, they are lying in the cave there. He knows exactly where they are, in my opinion. They know. They could take me there, but they won't do it. And I understand why. Everything is very, very closely guarded. How about that? So if you're interested in finding out more, and I hope you are, check it out, folks. On the Trail of the Nephilim, all 7 of them. Go to streaming.lamarzulli.net, streaming.lamarzulli.net. Weekend's coming up, right? 3-day weekend here. Binge watch them. I promise you will walk away just like this book. There's so much information. 600 pages, lots of research. That's why we are on the trail. Folks, there is a hidden history that has been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. And that's why I am on the trail of the Nephilim. Won't you join me? You can start by watching the 7 DVDs and get up to speed, or buy the book. There's so much information. So much information. What are you waiting for? So let's get right into our UFO update. This is from UFOinsight.com, UFOinsight.com. They've got a lot of great stories. This is from Jenny Henderson. She was abducted numerous times, just like Al Matthews in our film. UFO Disclosure, The Coming Great Deception, Luciferian Endgame. It's free. Go down to the text box right below here, and you can find it. It's right there. Click it, watch it. It's that important. So here's some of the things that I've heard from people who have been abducted. This also came from UFO Insight. Figures like grotesque toy soldiers. We hear this often, that people, look, these entities have the ability to manipulate space, time, matter, and energy. And when they do that, they can implant false memories in your mind. So later on, you'll have this memories of grotesque toy soldiers. You're not sure where that's from. They can also morph, metaskits monoci, and appear as different figures. Continue. She's waking up. Don't let her open her eyes. So as they do these ridiculous medical experiments over and over and over again, they're extracting sperm and ovum. Anyone who winds up on that metallic table, it's terrifying. Okay. And often what they'll do is as you're there on the table and you can't move, a gray will come up, or a mantis-like entity will come up and get this close to your face, like a couple of inches. So you're staring into this being's eyes and your mind explodes, and then you usually go out. And that's how they control the narrative. So what she's hearing, she's waking up, don't let her open her eyes. Missing time on the way to the basketball game. So we've heard this from Al Matthews. He's just driving home from work. It's in the film. That's why you want to watch the film. I can't stress it enough. This information is free. The second film will be free from two world-renowned UFO researchers, Francisco Carrera, head of exopolitics in Portugal, and Preston Dennett, author of several books about the UFO phenomena. He's been a researcher for decades. We interviewed both of these guys. That film will be free. The third film, which has a lot more, George Norrie, Nick Pope, Nick Redford, Mondo Gonzalez of Prophecy Watchers, Pastor Matt Freeman, who it's his first time on this series, but he's a real smart guy, and he weighs in on the coming Great Deception, because really that's what it is. Gary Stearman, just to name a few, Derek Gilbert, Josh Peck, a lot of people, and that we're going to charge for. So that'll be the third film in the series. We'll probably do a fourth film because there's so much information, it can't be contained in one or two films. Let's continue. The encounters continue into adulthood. Normally, people were taken at a very young age, and it continues sometimes at 5 years old, but also sometimes just as they're about to hit puberty, men and women or girls and boys are then taken. And these sadistic experiments continue over and over and over again. Researchers like J. Allen Hynek and others have stated, well, why do they keep doing the same thing over and over again? I mean, why is this? Folks, they're taking sperm, they're taking ovum. They track these people. With the women, they implant them, all right? In other words, a woman will find herself maybe at 21 or 22 or 25 years old. She's pregnant, and she's not sure how she got pregnant. She might be married at that time, hasn't told her husband of these abductions, too ashamed to, too afraid to, not sure whether they're even real. She finds herself pregnant. This is actually in the book, the Nephilim Trilogy. I wrote about this, where the child was taken in the third month, usually, not all the time, but usually. The first trimester, towards the end of the first trimester, the child was taken. The person is re-abducted, the child is taken. They go to the doctor, and voila, the child is gone. Later on, 5 or 6 years later, they're re-abducted, and they see this alien/human hybrid, this child who looks very sickly, and they're asked to hold it. How many times have we heard this? Let's continue. Strange tanks with fetuses inside. Again, I wrote about this in the Nephilim Trilogy. Let me just hold this up. This is all 3 books to give you an idea. It's all there. Even though it's fiction, it was based on a ton of research. And we've heard this before, that people on board the ships, okay, they are ushered into a room, and there are these tanks, and there are fetuses inside the tanks. In my opinion, and this is from the 80s and the 90s, we heard this. We're 30 years ahead of that. Al Matthews had an encounter, 3 or 4 years ago, with a hybrid woman who wore these dark glasses. Again, this is all in the free film. Dark glasses, like swimmer's glasses almost, wrapped around her eyes, okay? And when Al encountered her and she leaned over to kiss him, that's a whole story which I won't get into. It's in the film, and he recounts that. He pushes her away, and the eyes shapeshift. The eyes shift into something else. Folks, hybrids are walking amongst us. Dr. David Jacobs says as much. I'm going to stop right there because I want to get into this on Monday of next week. Have a great and a safe New Year's Eve. And let's hope that 2022 is better. Again, UFO disclosure film right there. It's free. Please go to our YouTube channel. I won't belabor the point anymore. Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming here on YouTube. Let's hope 2022 is a better year. Pray, because our republic hangs by a thread. Okay? Pray. We need to pray. Wake up, folks. 3,600 just puts it right in the time, very close to the conquest. And as we talked yesterday, the tablet, cursed, cursed, cursed. I did an interview with Aaron Lipkin, which is the nexus, the basis for tomorrow's show on PTL. I preempted what I was going to do because this is way too important. And it dovetails right into my wheelhouse. And what Aaron told me on the interview yesterday confirmed my suspicions. But I'll leave you hanging till tomorrow. Watch the entire interview. It's about 21 minutes. 21 minutes. And he was gracious enough to come on the record. I think we're going to do a Nephilim tour in Israel, probably 2023 next year. That's what we're planning on. Little itch in my nose here. But 2023 in Israel. We might partner with Prophecy Watchers, with Mondo, not sure yet. Last time I was there was several years ago, obviously before COVID, and Mondo and I did the tour together. But it was completely a spiral of life tour. This might be something different. Look, folks, when you're there, it's unbelievable. And we'll concentrate on Nephilim sites. We'll go to Gilgal Raphaim, the circle, the wheel of the giants. We'll visit the dolmens in that area. We'll go to other dolmens. We'll go to Tel Gezar, which is just incredible. And we kind of put that on the map, but I digress. Anyway, look at the size of a hand. So here we go, and this is what it's saying. A severed right hand discovered in front of the Hyksos Palace at Avaris, modern-day Tel El Daba. I have trouble with some of these names. Please forgive me. It would have been chopped off and presented to the king in exchange for gold. This is the first archaeological evidence of the practice. They were buried about 3,600 years ago. So we're looking at these giant hands here that were chopped off and buried. Look at the picture behind me, right there. See that big guy and then the little guy underneath cowering like that? What are we looking at? The giants are real. The Nephilim were real. This is all very close to Nephilim Central. The team of archaeologists who made the discovery determined that all the bones date to about 3,600 years ago, indicating that they all came from the same ceremony. All hands appear to be, this is what I was looking for. All the hands appear to be abnormally long or even larger than normal. They were classified into 4 different graves within what scientists believed was the actual Hyksos complex. Look, folks, see that bas-relief there, carved in stone? That's what we're talking about. See how big that guy is? He's a 10-footer. He's a 10-footer. We interviewed a gentleman last Monday, all right, when I was in Oklahoma. Mondo and I went up and interviewed this man. And I talked about it, but I'll say it again. Right here in the Americas. Right here in the Americas. There was a rescue archaeological dig in 1928 to 1930. They flooded this entire area. It became a man-made lake. But before they did that, there were 8 mounds and a very large mound. They never got to the big mound. They pulled out over 600 skeletons in these mounds. One of them was a 10-footer. That 10-footer was openly on display. Openly on display. And this woman that this man knows, Wayne, knew basically all his life, passed away several years ago. She was 6 years old when her father took her to see the giant 10-foot skeleton. So this is my wheelhouse. This is why we are on the trail. Why do I care so much? Because it points back to the validity of the biblical prophetic narrative. I'll read it again. All the hands appear to be abnormally long or even larger than normal. Let's go back. Look at the fingers. Look at the fingers. And I have a problem with this, and I'll get to that in just a second. Look at the hands closely. Let's go to the far right hand, the middle of a screen. Look at all the pottery shards around that, right? Look at the hand, which is sort of isolated by itself. Okay? Let's count the fingers. Why hasn't anybody brought this? Why isn't anyone talking about this? Let's count the fingers that we see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where's the thumb? Thumb's not there. Thumb is not there, is it? Right? Let's go to the left-hand side and count the fingers there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that long finger a thumb? You tell me. And look down here in the lower, it's on the left-hand side. That looks like a thumb bone right there. See it? It's under the hand, which is like this, okay? And the thumb would be, it's very close to it. So here we have 5 fingers, but notice the size of the thumb. It's normal, right? It's a normal size thumb. Again, I call your attention. Look over here to the hand, which is kind of like this, all right? But there's no thumb. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers. They're all very long, but there's no thumb. So were they 6 fingers? I don't know. I would love to be able to talk to the archaeologists and find if there was evidence of 6 fingers, because we know the Nephilim had 6 fingers. How do we know that? From the biblical prophetic narrative right here. It's written in here. It's written in our Bibles, and that's why I am on the trail. This find could reveal the true story about a civilization of enormous dimensions, where the discovery of these giant hands could shed light on ancient stories that were previously discussed, were only fables or inventions of conspiracy theorists. There is a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world, bully for these people, this team of archaeologists who uncovered this and is now bringing it to the world. Folks, they were here. They were here. The giants were here. They were here in the Americas. They're all over. The fingerprints of the supernatural. I was on a show a couple of days ago, and actually yesterday, and it was over in the UK. And this man was asking me pretty much stock questions. We always give a sheet of questions for people to draw from in case they can't have it. Most people don't have the time to do the research. If you're doing shows 5 days a week, you got to send questions. And so that's what we did. We sent questions, and I just went off. I mean, I just went off, and I was on fire, because we see vestiges of the Nephilim from certainly the Levant, and then it goes westward, and it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere, and that's why we are on the trail. Interested at all? And by the way, before I get to this is really interesting, and I'm going to correlate it back to a show that we've already done, the Gold Museum in Lima. Now, there are people who were there in the 60s and saw the giant mummies on the golden thrones. If you've got pictures of that, or your grandfather has pictures of that, please send them my way. We know it was there. It's all been scrubbed from the internet. It's all, you could go 4 or 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, more likely. You could go and you could find little vestiges of it on YouTube. Most of it's been scrubbed. So this is a still shot from a man who sent this to me. I forget the gentleman's name. Please forgive me. But this is what it kind of looked like. And we see this skull is huge. Look at the picture to the right. That's a normal Inca warrior, let's say. And this is the guy to the left. He's like a 12-footer. He's a 12-footer. We heard from the Huacaros. I've talked to these people. I've talked to the Huacaros who 30, 40 years ago, when they were probing certain areas in Peru, Huacaro was a grave robber. They discovered giants like this. The skeletons are long gone. That's 40 years ago. But there's oral reports from the Huacaros, and guess what? They have no Nephilim dog in the hunt at all. So this is once again from the museum, the Gold Museum in Lima. There's another shot of it, and we can see that things are changing here. Now it's only from sort of a neck up. So I don't know what to make of it. I know that there were pictures. There were rumors they were 9 to 10 foot skeletons encased in gold thrones. If you're interested at all, and man, I hope you are, please go to our Uscreen account. It's streaming.lamarzulli.net, streaming.lamarzulli.net. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? You can download them all for just basically nothing. You help keep the lights on here, and you will enrich what you know about world history. Because I'll say it again, there is a hidden history that's been deliberately, with every deliberate intention that they can do hidden from you and me. And that's why we're on the trail. Let's get into our UFO disclosure discussion tonight. I think you'll find this interesting. And hopefully, if you have a UFO report, please shoot me the email, la@lamarzulli.net, la@lamarzulli.net. We get them almost daily from people. Folks, they're real, burgeoning, not going away. UFO disclosure, it's our free film. If you scroll down a little bit, open up the text box below this, you will see, just scroll down, you'll see the link to the free UFO film. I'm working on number 2. It will be released at the end of April, definitely, because I've got the body pretty much roughed out, and now I'm polishing. I'm going back and adding music and effects and everything else. I'm also working on number 3. So there's 5 films that we know about. We've already shot most of the film for 3, 4, and 5. So we're in post-production on all. And we're trying to make them better. We might be bringing God's Shimura up here to help me with the editing, get another set of eyes before we release it to the public. So more about that. But here's what this gentleman says. Mr. Marzulli, in 1966, while hunting at night with my cousin, we came upon a disc-shaped UFO sitting on the ground. This is the strange part. The UFO was running some type of engine which sounded like a present-day jet engine, which makes me believe that this was some sort of secret government project. Both he and I assumed we were somehow detected by the craft operators as we were approaching it, because the craft suddenly shut down the engine, lifted straight up off the ground without making a sound, came towards both of us approximately 75 to 100 feet above us, and proceeded in an eastward direction, gradually gaining elevation. We watched this craft for approximately 1 minute, and another object came from a northward direction, flew directly over the first craft, and both disappeared. I have more details, but this is the short version of the encounter we experienced. I have not written back. I will be writing back shortly after this broadcast is finished today and try to get more details. Maybe he'll come on the record. We'll see. A lot of people won't do that, even though Fox News and CNN and basically all the media have now, and our government has declared that UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, are real. What are we waiting for? What are we waiting for? Why won't the church, they still won't address it, but we address it here every day. Why? I'll tell you why. Because it is the coming great deception and the Luciferian endgame. Free film. Scroll down, watch it. You need to. It's that important. Moving right along, folks. Thanks so much for watching On the Trail of a Nephilim. Thanks for your support. We really appreciate you coming here every day. We're trying to get our numbers up, and we're looking for sponsors. So if you have a product that you'd like to have us advertise on the show, we can certainly do that. So thanks so much for watching. Remember, we'll see you on the air or in the air.